Welcome back to the Braille and Assistive Technology Boss channel. I'm your host, Craig Gidgley, and today we're going to be talking about short form contractions and alphabet whole word contractions. All right, so in previous lessons, we covered the Braille alphabet. We talked about where Braille comes from. We talked about some Braille reading and writing tools. And then in the next lessons, we talked about Braille numbers. And we talked about some Braille marks of punctuation, especially all the marks of punctuation that are dropped down to the bottom portion of the cell. All right, today we're going to jump into contracted Braille. All right, we're going to start with a few contractions. Now, in the English language, you use contractions for words like can't and don't, right? And basically what you're doing when you use those contractions is you are eliminating a few letters in order to shorten down bigger phrases, right? So instead of saying I can not, I can shorten it down just by writing I can't. Or instead of saying I do not, I can shorten it down by saying I don't. And I'm using up less time to write it, less time to read it, and it saves space on the paper as well. So in Braille, you're going to accomplish all of those things. And it's really, really good that we can accomplish those things because when you think about the Braille reader, you're having to use your fingers to identify the characters and the words and things like that. So whereas a sighted person or a person accessing content with their vision might be able to look at the entire page at one time, as an individual with Braille, you know you can only feel what's under your fingers. You're not able to gauge the entire document at one time. And so Braille contractions really, really help us to pick up our speed and our fluency in Braille reading and also in Braille writing. With that being said, let's jump right into our alphabet whole word contractions. All right. So basically what these are is that the Braille alphabet that we learned in previous lessons, you're going to use each one of those letters with a space on either side to represent a contracted word. All right. It represents a contracted word. So you take one long word and you're just going to represent it with one letter with a space on either side. All right, so the letter A is already a word, so we're not going to be able to use this one for a contraction. A with a space on either side is just the letter A. B with a space on either side when it appears in a line of Braille is but. C is can, D is do, E is every, F is from, G is go, H is have, I is already a word, right? So I with a space on either side is still just the letter I. J is just, K is knowledge, L is like, M is more, N is not. Okay, so we do not have a Braille contraction for O by itself, even if it has a space on either side, even though O is not a word, right? It's just one of those Braille letters that is not a contraction, a standalone contraction. P for people, Q for quite, R for rather, S for so, S-O, T for that, U for us, V for very, W for will, X for the word it, I-T, Y for you, Y-O-U, and Z for the word as, A-S. All right, so those are your alphabet whole word contractions. If you run across one of your Braille letters and it has a space on either side and it's in a line of Braille, it is intended that you read that as a contracted word. All right, and it's going to save you so much more time. Imagine if you have to run your fingers across the entire Braille word you, Y-O-U, or if you could just run it across the letter Y and know that, hey, that's the word you. Especially that contraction for people. To run across the whole line of Braille, you'd have to run your fingers across P-E-O-P-L-E. But if you see a P appearing by itself with a space on either side, you know that that is the word people. And so it saves you a lot of time with writing it, but it also saves you a lot of time with reading it. And when we look at our successful Braille readers in the Braille challenges across the country, right, at the different schools for the blind and visually impaired, we see the Braille readers starting to read Braille almost as fast as some of the print readers. And the way that they do this is because they use Braille contractions. So Stick with the contractions. They're going to help you out in the long run, save you a lot of time and energy. All right, now let's look at the short form contractions. These, I will give you the dot counts because we have not run across these in our previous lessons. All right. There is a short form contraction for and, A-N-D. Now, the beautiful part about these short form contractions is you can use them within words. All right, you can use, so if I wanted to write hand, I could put H and then put the contraction for A-N-D. All right, so the contraction for A-N-D is a backwards Y, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. All right, so you can use it for hand, H, and then the A-N-D symbol, or you could use it for candle, C, and then the A-N-D symbol, and then L-E. All right, it works in the middle of a word, it works on the end of a word, it works at the beginning of a word. If I wanted to write the name Andy, I can put the Braille contraction for A-N-D, dots 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 all together, dots 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and then I could just put a Y on the end of it. All right, so Andy. So A-N-D contraction, it's a really good one. Then we have a contraction for for, F-O-R. All right, this is one of the easiest contractions to remember because it's a full cell, all the dots. Dots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can put this one at the beginning of a word. You can put it in the middle of a word. You can put it at the end of a word. So forgive, the for sign, and then give, right? Or for, just the word for, just the full cell by itself, space on either side. So the next one is of, okay, of, the contraction for OF. And this is dots 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. All right. Of and with are going to be reflections of each other. And so of is dots 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. I like to think of it as of is like the left hand and it's throwing, and with is like the right hand and it's catching. All right. So of is dots 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And remember, you can put this inside of a word. So if I'm just writing the word of, then you'll see a space and then the OF contraction, dots 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and then the space, right? But if I wanted to write off, I will put the OF contraction and put the letter F. All right, with, I remember, with is the mirror image or reflection of. So it's of flipped around, it's dots 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This with can go by itself, or with can be in words like withstand.
Waiting.
All right, and then the word the, T-H-E. All right, T-H-E is going to be like a backwards Z. All right, the way I like to remember this, so you know that you have a Z if the E is on top, right? Because remember we talked about Z is just an E with dots 3, 6 added to it. And you know that you have the word the if the I is on top. All right, so it's the letter I, but it's also dots 3, 6 added onto it. So it's 2, 3, 4, 6. All right. And so you could use this again. You can use this within words. So any words like other that has THE in the middle of it, I will put the letter O, and then I will put the THE symbol, and then I will put the R. All right. So that's it for today's lesson. I hope you got a lot out of it. You can start using these contractions as you read and write your Braille.